The controversial writer Salman Rushdie was stabbed on Friday, August 12th. He has Mars in Taurus in the first house. It's in late Taurus, I believe it's around 23. And his first house ruler, Venus, just entered the profected house, which is his fourth house, home to his angular Saturn in a night chart at 6 degrees Leo, and Pluto at 11 degrees Leo. Saturn-Pluto combinations are brutal. Saturn is gravitas, heaviness. Pluto is empowerment through ordeals, or being put through brutal ordeals, and either, if you survive them, being empowered by the healing of that trauma later. And Saturn rules his 10th house. You ever take a break from astrology? Like, take a break from calculating everything and just live your life? You'll realize that you don't need astrology. It's one way of making sense of the world, but it's not the only way. August 14th, the Sun opposes Saturn. On August 11th, I think, around the full moon in Aquarius, surprise, we received new guidelines related to the Aquarius stuff that keeps happening. No matter what side of the divide you land on, everybody thinks they're pretty silly, just for different reasons. It's almost as if Pluto is a corrupting influence, and Pluto is currently transiting the last part of Capricorn, which pertains to what ambition and building gets you, which is presiding over institutions and making rules. Anyway, August 14th, the Sun opposes Saturn in Aquarius, where the full moon was. Exactly. In South Node in Scorpio news, I once went to a lecture called The End of Privacy. Amazon is doing a silly footage show based on footage collected from the Amazon Ring. Also, the Mount Sinai Health System in New York plans to build a giant database of genetic information collected from things like routine blood draws. Don't worry, all the data will be anonymized for research purposes, unless you're somehow compelled to share it, or unless some authority figure needs to access it. A similar precedent was set by Ancestry.com. I don't know what their privacy policy was like, but detectives have accessed genetic information from that, which is like, that's good for solving crimes, but my information was in Ancestry.com without my consent or knowledge. Anyway, Ancestry.com is owned by Blackstone, who also bought up a lot of the housing with cash. So that kind of stuff just makes me think remote door locks. Anyway, genetic information being collected in New York. Don't worry, it's anonymous. Just like your blockchain data is anonymous, unless you need help from the state of any kind, like any kind of assistance, especially like the universal pre-K or something. Then you'll be compelled to have your data collected and have it shown to impact investors. Meanwhile, Google is going to pay about $42 million because of their collection of location data collected through their Android phones. That's like $20 in Google money. On August 11th, which is the full moon in Aquarius, MailChimp suspended a bunch of cryptocurrency-related accounts. This happened the day after a story saying that the IRS is seeking customer information from one cryptocurrency dealer in a cryptocurrency tax push. MailChimp was acquired by Intuit, who owns QuickBooks and TurboTax. MailChimp leadership touted this partnership as amounting to a single source of truth for small businesses. On August 14th, the Sun opposes Saturn. There was a recent story about a man who charges a lot of money for LinkedIn headshots. And he says that he's not a photographer. He is a facial conveyance strategist. Anyway, facial conveyance strategy seems very Saturn in the air sign it rules, opposing the Sun in the fire sign it rules. Strategizing and structuring visibility. and creating a concrete artifact for visibility purposes, an image. Also, in recent news, scientists have discovered, I don't know why this is coming out now, that the circadian clock influences tumor development. So darkness at night is important, and bright sun, like the blue light that comes from the sun during the day, is important. You need both. We live a life that amounts to a flat line where we spend all days indoors and then we turn on bright lights at night, and it fucks up our circadian rhythm, pardon my language. In separate news, recently reported fireflies are having trouble mating because the night never comes because of light pollution. Also, in news that I already knew that was not in the news recently, baby turtles. I think it's in Brazil where, you know on nature shows where the mom turtle bears their eggs in the sand and then the baby turtles hatch and they make this long journey to the ocean. Sometimes they get eaten by predators, and so it's a big deal for the baby turtles to survive. Only a few survive in the sea turtle population. However, baby turtles use the moon reflecting on the surface of the ocean water to find the ocean. That's a part of their instinct. So I guess in Brazil, all the city lights, the turtles are going the wrong way. We're idiots. I mean, we're not. We're divine intelligence, physically embodied. There's this author, I forget his name right now, but I'll try to track it down and put it in the description thing, who was writing a book about how humans are becoming the locust version of humans, which apparently locusts are this crazy, exaggerated, hive mind, devouring, destructive version of grasshoppers. Anyway, also if you keep a killer whale in a tank, its fin flops over because it was designed to rush through the water, and its fin evolved to be shaped by speeding through the ocean in long distances. And we humans have many other versions of the floppy fin that killer whales have. Anyway, about the collective in light and darkness, with the sun opposing Saturn. The sun is the center of the solar system. Porphyry says that the sun is setting in order the things that exist in air and those that exist on Earth. It enumerates the seasons. It is causative of the winds, hot spells, and cold spells. The sun creates the conditions. Saturn is about things that are. Saturn makes things concrete reality. It crystallizes. It hardens. Saturn signifies that which is real and that which endures. And the sun coordinates and leads. Saturn signifies endings as the planet furthest away from Earth that we can see with the naked eye. Except sometimes you can see Uranus with the naked eye at very specific times. Leave it to Uranus to be anomalous. Mercury also likes to be anomalous. Anyway, with the sun opposing Saturn, there could be a feeling of being blocked, and it could feel grim and frustrating and result in a lack of confidence. But also, both planets, both celestial bodies, are dignified. So this could be a signature of coordination and planning. The sun enumerating the seasons, creating hot spells and cold spells, equates to having a will, creating the conditions. A piece of granite could be Saturn. It's heavy. It was formed over a very long time. It will exist for a very long time. The sun, according to the seasons and day and night, can make that rock warm, hot, or cool, or cold. Both can change reality in different ways. And these two different ways of creating reality and changing it and illuminating reality and darkening it are at odds. Last July, when the sun was in Leo, there was a global narrative about different types of individuals being at odds with different types of authority structures that were imposing restrictions because of the collective. So the sun, individuals, sovereignty being opposed by Saturn making rules, authority structures making rules in Aquarius about the collective and the future. Looking at things as they are from your sheltering in place or your glass house or your ivory tower or your flippant skydiving, seeing them as they are, and then idealizing a different way things could be in the future. And thinking of rules that could make things that way. Thinking of measures of authority that could create that reality. Or rules for the collective to follow that could create that reality. The sun is a light source. Lightness is a singular term that pertains to both levity and luminosity. And the sun is the center. The glyph for the sun has a center with a circumference around it, like an orbit. The sun is the center. You could say that consciousness is all one thing and we are all different, separate extrusions experiencing like the same single consciousness in different ways. That's just my trippy take. Saturn signifies heaviness and darkness. There is no singular term for both. And Saturn signifies the divide. I suppose gravitas or gravity could signify both. No, it's heavy. Gravity is heaviness, and then like heaviness in terms of meaning and physical weight. I can't think of a word that signifies both right now, but I like that for Saturn because Saturn divides. Saturn is about boundaries, especially in Aquarius. The light source, the singular light source, and the heavy darkness that divides and ends. We have inner authority versus external accountability, with Saturn signifying authority structures. Anyway, exterior authority could make you feel inferior or suffer from a lack of confidence. Like Saturn is your dad being super critical of whatever house coincides with the sign of Leo in your chart, for example. Mine's not. I'm kidding. With the sun opposing Saturn, do whatever is responsible. Do the next right thing, to pull a quote from the film Frozen 2. Saturn puts pressure on things. So the structuring of your identity or your sovereignty or just yourself could feel under pressure during this time and the time leading up to it. And also you might be expecting some recognition that you don't end up getting, or that you don't end up getting very easily and you have to fight for. Because it's the sun in the third phase of Leo, which is a more contentious, embattled segment of the Leo process. On the same day, Mars trines Pluto. Mars, which is trining Pluto from Taurus, is also squaring this Sun-Saturn opposition. So Mars trining Pluto could do something to snap the tension of the Sun opposing Saturn. This could be a productive signature to push through your resistance, but Pluto corrupts. It corrupts the place it's traveling through in the zodiacal process, and it corrupts the planets it connects to. And Mars is in detriment in Taurus. It doesn't function well. So it could be like some easy way to pull off something horrible, or it's an attempt to do something really terrible and destructive because you feel powerless, because you don't feel like you can accomplish anything else. Goes off without a hitch. Or your brutality and your power struggles. For all your brutal power struggle needs, either with yourself, resistance within yourself, or your supervillain evil scheme, the material, or your money. Maybe there's like an insane drive that results in a power upheaval that results in either money or power, physical goods, supplies, with Mars. You could burn through a bunch of money to achieve power, Pluto, but then you have to be the king, and that could be its own sense of disempowerment in ways you didn't expect, because Uranus is with Mars still, and the North Node. Also, the Sun was trining Jupiter on July 31st, so the Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction was also happening July 31st and August 1st. So whatever disruption or matter that was catalyzed and whatever optimism you felt from that, on the one hand, was immediately ground to a halt or somehow restricted by Mars' subsequent square aspect with Saturn about a week later. But now, so the Sun was trining Jupiter, which is expansive and optimistic, but now the Sun opposes Saturn. So things that happened around July 31st, August 1st, and the frustrations that followed around August 7th, or in between the 1st and the 7th, the first week of August, now come back around with a tension between the self and authority structures, between light and darkness, and Mars squaring the opposition from Taurus and trining Pluto and Capricorn is sure to modify that Sun-Saturn tension somehow. On August 16th, Mercury trines Uranus. If you're deciding between doing it this way or that way, choose the third way. The word contrary means extremely unlike or the most unlike. It's a great term for Uranus because Uranus is the unique individual and Uranus is the unexpected. It's most unlike what you were expecting. And the trine, it could result in some sort of disruptive ideas. Uranus is in the superior position, so maybe something interrupts your organizational process or your structured thinking or your cleaning. On the same day, the moon squares Pluto, so we get maybe some aftershocks of whatever Mars-Pluto situation. Mars was squaring the Sun-Saturn opposition. Mercury in Virgo wants to separate what is important from what is garbage, or what is productive and what is a waste of time. And Uranus is disrupting physical stuff and foodstuffs and the good things in life that are embodied. Venus trines Jupiter on August 18th. This is nice. Spirits are high, even though we're coming off of that Sun-Saturn opposition. Venus moves pretty fast, so this is fleeting, and later Venus will oppose Saturn, so there's a chance that whatever nice time you have here, like whatever good day you have, there's a chance later you might look back and see that you took that positive time for granted, or you took those gifts and blessings for granted, perhaps. So don't. Ratchet up your gratitude and appreciation factor, your conscious savoring of the moment, and your thankfulness that you can have moments such as this. It's a signature of magnetism and independence. Venus in Leo is good at appearing desirable, and Jupiter in the fire sign of Mars is fighting the good fight, we hope. He's actually just working for Mars, which is fighting kind of a crappy, frustrating fight in Taurus still. But let's fight the good fight anyway. So Venus contacting Jupiter is infused with like a triumphant nobility. Maybe that's helpful. Look at the sign in your chart that coincides with the sign of Leo and the sign in your chart that coincides with the sign of Aries and see how those two could strike a easy, optimistic, inspiring confluence. Next, Mars finally enters Gemini